Hey guys, Eddie Speed here. So let me ask you a question. What is the single most important thing to negotiate when you're getting a seller to carry financing from you when you're a buyer? Well, most people would say it's the interest rate, right? Low interest. What if I told you there is a way to pay more interest than the seller is asking for and make it even a better bargain than you were thinking initially? This case study is about a guy seller financing to my student who is a very high volume real estate investor. But the way we showed him how to reposition the terms makes it a bargain. Watch this and understand it's very critical to learn what you're negotiating for. Joe, I got another case study.
Yes, we do.
Okay. So this is kind of a different kind of a deal. And once again, this was a free and clear. So we've got them all over the board as far as deals that are free and clear versus the other. This young man is in
Phoenix
area. And so here's the thing, Joe. This property was good, and he had bought at a discount. Okay, so he had a little discount in it, and he said, I can flip it and make 20 grand. And we all know, because we've got friends in the Phoenix market, that thing is turned upside down a little more than normal here as of recent. This is a good house, good neighborhood, and the seller really says, I'm willing to do it, but I'm only willing to do it on 10 years, and I want 5% interest. And so Scott came to us and said, I want to make this work. And I said, okay, you can, but I'm telling you, a 10-year term and 5% interest is market. I mean, that's not a bargain.
Well, actually, Eddie, let me pepper this up a little bit, because he sends this in, and we're going to go over it on a deal lab. And he goes, now, I know you're going to pick this apart. I know you're going to pick this apart, but this is a good deal, Eddie. It's a good deal, and I think I've done a great job, right?
He's a good guy, by the way.
He's a great guy.
He was just like, he was afraid we were going to drive him off and to not do this deal. Okay, that's just the day. Like he was afraid that I'm close enough, and don't cause me not to do this deal.
It's going to let Kevin moan, no, I'm not going back again.
All right, so he buys this property for $200,000, $20,000 down, 180. Now, once again, Joe, he did have some there. He had it bought under market.
Yes, he did.
Okay, so a wholesaler, he still could have wholesale to made some money, but the money hopefully was in the financing. Problem was the financing wasn't a bargain.
Right.
5% interest in 10-year balloon just wasn't anything that was. So we said, look, you're going to have to go get the guy to agree to way different terms than he thinks he's going to agree to. And what did he say, Joe?
He's not going to do it. He's not going to do it. I've made the best deal I can make, Eddie. He's not going to do it. You're going to cause me to blow this thing.
So we said, well, what if he was an old guy, right? He was like 80 years old or 70 years old or something like that. Isn't that right, Joe?
Yeah, he was.
And so
77 years old.
So he thinks he's old, and he thinks he's going to die. And of course, who's going to end up with the note? His heirs, right?
Right.
And he said, well, he's selling it because he doesn't want his heirs to end up with a rental, because he thinks they'll goof it up. Right? So we said, what if I could pay you more interest than you're asking for. Would you extend it another 5 years? And so now it's not 10 years, it's 15.
15 years.
So this is, the seller would have gotten 966. Now he's going to get 665, going to $1,005. Okay. Now, by the way, you wouldn't show the seller what payment he was going to get. You just show him what he's going to get, right? Just point of negotiation here. And in that process, Joe, now you look at what the seller wanted. This is the amortization that he wanted, which was red. Okay, this was what he wanted, and then obviously Scott's going to sell it on a wrap note and collect payments over time, and he would have owed him a balloon at the end of 10 years for 146.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So here is the terms, the modified terms that the guy agreed to. Remember, we wanted to get the rate down and the term out, right? So we're going to do this crazy thing of telling the seller, I'll pay you more interest than you want. Why would we agree to something so crazy? Because if you look at the first 5 years, because we went from 5% interest to 2% interest, even though the payment went down by $300, the amortization starts coming off at a way faster rate. So it may seem like you're paying more interest at 6.5%, but you're not, because you're sawing off the principal so much more.
Correct.
So it's a little math trick. And believe me, I can't tell you how often they will go for this.
That's right.
So that's the first 5 years. And if you look, the amortization's like that. And then the second part kicks in, 156. So you've gone from owing 180 to 157,000 in 5 years. And now that is the new balance amortized over the 25-year term. 10-year balloon, he's going to owe 121. Okay, so if you'd have done the original amortization in 5 years, it would not have hardly moved any.
That's right.
So the 156, it's down from 180 to 156 because of this 2% interest. So we found that if you can get them that first 5 to 8 years, if you can get them to 1 or 2% interest, you can agree to any ridiculous interest after that. It's going to be in your favor. Now, once again, it's a point of negotiation. You guys are pros. You know how to negotiate, and you get a sense of your customer. So it went from 2% for 5 years. Then it goes to 6.5 for 10 more years. So now all of a sudden he's pushed it out, and now he owes the guy, for, instead of a 10-year balloon, he owes a 15-year balloon. Joe, what's the odds now he could buy his own note at a discount?
Pretty darn high, about 99%.
Exactly. Or from his heirs.
Right. Yeah, the heirs don't want to divide that payment up.
They just gonna need to buy something. You know the deal.
Right.
Then he owes 121 at the end. That's his note payable. It's wrappable, assumable, first right of refusal. All this stuff is baked into the deal. This is not a loan that a professional lender would have agreed to,
Right,
but an individual will, right? So he resells it on a wrap note to a penalty box buyer. And sorry about the slides there, that different fonts between Apple and a PC.
yes.
And anyway, sorry about that. So basically, if he sells it for 275, Joe, I want to talk about that. the retail value on the house was 275. He's not overselling it, right?
No. And he said, you know, he knew he had a good buy when he bought it, like you said at the beginning of this.
Because
And he said, you know, I know that I can sell it for 270, 275 all day long.
That's why he didn't want us to mess with his terms on financing.
Right.
Because he said, I've bought it cheap enough, I can agree to sort of overpay on the rate because I'm still going to make cash flow. We said, okay, but we can still make it better. So he gets 40,000 down. All of a sudden, now he's got some money today. And what he describes to us is if he flipped it in a wholesale scenario, he really wouldn't have made any more money than that.
Right.
Right. Now, I want to do you a disclaimer. This case study is prior to the virus. Okay. I say this deal gets better.
Yeah.
Right. 3 reasons I say that. First of all, people are willing to carry terms they wouldn't have carried before the virus.
Correct.
Right. The penalty box buyer, the guy who is just missed from conventional traditional mortgages, is excessively higher number than the guy prior to the virus.
That's correct.
Right. So once again, exactly how we land and where we land and all that stuff. Listen, I'm gonna be just like everybody else. I hope I'm smart enough to say I don't have a crystal ball, and because I broke it on the way into the office this morning.
You know, and again, that monthly payment to our, you know, penalty box buyer, that's right in line with what the rent should be on this house, on this place, including taxes and insurance. It's about 1,600 is what it would rent for, and the taxes and insurance were actually pretty low on this, and they are less than $100 a month, but a little over $100 a month.
Look, we are not guiding people to go oversell a property, oversell a monthly payment.
Right.
The way our strategy in showing you how to do this is to control underlying financing in such a manner that you can go just deliver at market and you're good.
Right.
And by the way, this penalty box buyer that's paying a little bit more than regular rates, they're still not paying. They're not throwing them out of a rental property payment. Right. People, this is what I believe is that this scenario, if structured correctly like this scenario is going to be very, very valuable on the backside of where we are. Right. Okay. Here's the wrap note. And he put a 180-month balloon on it. And Joe, here's the thing. Legally, you could have put an 8-year balloon on it.
Right.
Here's why I don't like an 8-year balloon. Because you're sawing off your cash flow.
Right.
The reason I like 15 years more than 10 years is he's getting cash flow on this thing every month. Why would you saw it off? Right? And you're going, yeah, but they're paying 6.5% interest and they'll go refi and pay it off. Well, I'm not saying impossible,
right,
but I'm saying to you that loans that are just above market, they just don't tend to go get off the couch and do all the refi stuff.
Right. They're not going to go up and do it.
That's my personal life experience.
Right.
Right. If I put the rate too high, it'll be enough money difference. They'll go get off the couch and do something.
Right.
Okay. So this is a cash flow model on this deal. First 5 years, obviously he's doing really good with the cash flow. It's making $800 a month because once again, he was the reduced rate gave him a reduced payment.
That's huge, yeah.
Yeah. So it's $10,000 a year, and then all of a sudden it goes down a little bit, so it makes $400 a month, but it's still $5,000 a year, right? But he earns that $5,000 a year for 5 more years.
Right.
because he was able to get the guy to extend the term. Now
Right.
you guys have figured out, I'm more interested. I feel like the odds of buying your own note at a discount, and here's how I would do it, right? You have a house buying business. That house buying business has a long-term play. Don't do owner financing in your fix and flip business. You need to form another entity. You need to make sure that you have a clear conversation with your tax advisors that this is for long-term income and wealth. It is not to be mixed with a fix and flip business, because it definitely has to do with some IRS requirements. Okay, so I've had lengthy conversations with Marcus about this. We're definitely on the same page that how you structure it and the entity you structure it and the formation of your how you do it is really important. So the one thing I'm going to say to do, don't bail off down the hill and sell a bunch of properties with seller financing in your fix and flip business and figure out, oh, later that your accountant doesn't like how that's structured. That's a conversation that you need to slow down and have. So that's very important. But now all of a sudden you have a house buying business that is designed for long-term income and gaining payments. And then you have a note buying company. So Joe, if I bought this, if I were Scott and I bought my own note at a discount, couldn't I then take my note buying company and buy a loan that my other company is the pay your own?
That's
And my
true.
note buying company buy that note, and I could go pledge that note as collateral to some passive investor, or I could go sell a partial of that note.
That's right.
You see what I'm saying? If you buy the note at a discount, instead of just collapsing it, then you buy the note at a discount and you step in to the shoes of the guy that you originally bought the note from.
There we go.
Your note buying company. If
Right.
you need to recapitalize, which you're probably going to need to do more oftentimes than not,
Right.
then we're trying to say that's why I showed you the idea today of borrowing money against a note or selling a partial on a note. That is a way to recapitalize.
True. Because see, Seth bought a $98,000 note, his 98 for $15,000, and he divides that up into two different entities, then that's the deal.
Yeah. All right, so guys, let me tell you what I'm going to do is.
Hey Eddie, and by the way, let's just give them the one last punchline here. The difference between doing it Scott's way and doing it the way that we suggested he do it was almost $46,000.
I know a lot of the guys that are on this call. I know the background that a lot of these guys came from to be on this call. They are very skilled at getting the juice out of the lemon. Right? That's the saying that they say at all the masterminds, right? Get the juice out of the lemon. I'm saying that with financing, if you think getting the juice out of the lemon otherwise is a big deal, because you're going to be collecting payments over time, it becomes a really big deal.
Right.
So my word of caution to you guys is, I don't think I'm the only guy in the world that's ever done seller financing. I don't think I'm the only guy in the world that's ever, helped anybody with seller financing. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that there are guys that have experience in the past seller financing that I would tell you that, they're not necessarily so focused on getting all the juice out of the lemon. They just were in times where seller financing was so good they could do it 80% good or 100% good sometimes, at 80% the other, and whatever. So I don't have anybody specific in mind, although I've been to every real estate investor group in the country, and I've always seen this old codger in the back of the room that, yeah, I've done seller financing forever, Well, just because they say that doesn't mean they're good at it.
Yeah.
That may mean the market was so good to them that they could make money in spite of it. But if you're looking at the kind of assets that we're trying to drive you to, these are really good assets, which means you're going to attract somebody that'll pay you back a long time in the future. All right, so let's do some math here real quick and finish this deal up. So guys, here's what I'm going to do. I'm hoping to build in just a few minutes. If we end up finishing a little bit early, then we'll all go drink a beer and whatever, right? So I'm not trying to make it time out right. I just want to make sure if you have questions that you can start pinging Joe on the question boards. I've built in a little time hoping that we'd have some time to cover those. So if you've been kind of baking on something, get some questions in there. And when I finish this case study, I'm going to kind of turn towards that. If you don't have any questions, no big deal. Then obviously we'll just wrap it up and not burn up a bunch of time. So as Seth said, I'm going to teach you to do this with a licensed professional servicer. Okay, so he's collecting $14.85 a month and he's paying out $665, and he does that for 5 years. Right at the end of 5 years, his payment goes up because remember the rate goes up. So he's not going to be making quite the cash flow, but for 10 more years, he's going to start paying the $1,060 a month. Okay, at the end of the balloon, he's owed $170 and he owes $121. So he has a pretty good kicker at the end of this thing.
Right.
Okay. So at balloon time, we got to re-amortize the 156, and then at the wrap he owes 170, and he's owed 121. So if you calculate this cash flow, he makes 20 up front, about $10,000 in cash flow for the first year. So he makes almost $30,000 the first year and about $10,000 a year through the 5th year. Okay. Then his cash flow drops. He's got a 15-year balloon. He makes $5,000 income from year 6 through 15. Plus on the 15th year, he still has the balloon due, and he's got almost a $49,000 kicker on that. So the last year he makes good money. That's kind of this is the model that I like to teach. Once again, you're gonna have all kind of different deals, but this gives you a pretty solid concept of how to do it. Joe, let's take this same asset. Okay, let's go back a little bit. What if the guy, there's just no way that he would sell that property at that price and get only $20,000 at the closing?
Right.
Okay. Way to make this deal work. Let's just say the seller insisted. Let's say the seller absolutely insisted. I'll sell this house to you and carry $100,000, but I need $100,000 in cash. How would you do it? Well, here's what I would say. The $100,000 in cash does not come out of your pocket. You borrowed money from a private lender for $100 grand.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You give them 6% interest. You amortize it with a balloon or with 10-year balloon, or you can fully amortize it over 15 years, or you can run different financial models to figure out where you would land. If you bought this house from this guy and he insisted on getting 50% cash at the closing, then you say the only thing you can do is get 0, 1, or 2% interest because I gave you half in cash. Then you back into a financial model. Then you're looking at a blended interest rate between a first mortgage private lender, and Eddie ain't going to the bank, by the way. Okay. A first mortgage private lender is 50% of your wholesale price, and then you've got 50% of the financing that comes from the seller. Right. His below market rate and his market rate financing together give you a blended rate that when you resell it, you can build fairly close to this identical cash flow model.
Absolutely.
And by the way, you got nothing in it.
That's right.
And by the way, you got nothing in it. You get 40 grand at the closing and not 20 grand at the closing. So if they owe some money or they got to have some walk-in money or all of this stuff, you guys don't get to thinking, well, there's no way seller financing work. It's not free and clear. They need half the money, half the sales price at closing, or it won't work.
Right.
It will work.
It will work.
Right.
And you know, Eddie, it's not just the this one deal at $820 or $10,000 a year or $5,000 a year. It's doing this over and over and over again and building your bank, right? I mean, you do 10 of these this year and then 10 next year, and then you've got 20 of them, and then your monthly income just, it's the money today, money tomorrow, and a lot of our guys are, just used to the money today.
Well, I mean, this is a pretty vetted audience, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a pretty vetted audience. They're not going to do anything and do one deal. That
Right.
they can go do 50 of them in a year, it's not worth their doing.
That's
My
right.
father-in-law taught me this business 40 years ago. And he said something to me 40 years ago that turned out to be exactly true. And that is, he said, when you have a business that you have enough income in your business that your living is made on January 1st every year, then you can really go make a lot of money. So there's two ways you can do that, right? The one way you can do it is a market condition comes along that allows you to have cheap money and properties at less than full retail. If
Right.
both of those happen at the same time, then all of a sudden you can start accelerating that a lot faster. I'll be the first to tell all you guys, I have no crystal ball. I do not know what the market's going to do.
Right.
We can make some guesses. I do feel like the mortgage situation with a credit crunch to some degree is going to certainly be a factor. Is
Yes.
it going to be a 91% factor or a 71% factor? We don't know that.
Right.
But I would say that this penalty box buyer that buys this house, my whole play is I'm looking for the guy that's right on the edge that's just not conventionally financeable.
Right. That's exactly right.
And I think that the seller's willingness to carry terms, even if they need some money at closing, the seller's willingness to carry terms is greater than it was. So I've tried to put together these different case studies that show you different angles. I know it was a little bit of brain damage to go through, paying off the hard money lender, was swapping him a note, him selling a partial or pledging the note to him. But I needed to show you that so that I could show you that down the road somewhere, when you have a deal that needs some money at closing, there's a way you can raise money at closing. If you need to recapitalize your note business, you have a good note receivable, there's a way you can recapitalize it.
Right.
So this is obviously just a small glimpse of what's possible. Different paths to choose from. Now, these paths can be limitless in the options that they can give you if they're part of how you structure deals or how you know that you can structure deals. Imagine if you had this tool in your toolbox. Well, if you had this tool in your toolbox and you regularly knew how to use it and you could lay it in whenever it would fit, what would that do for you? This is what we love being able to teach people how to do, is to show them this creative finance process, something that clearly we've been developing for a long time, and open up your mind as to what's possible. And then, of course, something very important, which is, how would this apply to you? However we can help you next, we would love to know how to do that. And just reach out to us, but just let us know what we could do to help you start applying these strategies to your business. See you later. Bye-bye.